Basic Brewing Radio is sponsored in part by the American Homebrewers Association. The American Homebrewers Association invites you to choose your own brew venture. Join for 1 year and select a complimentary brewing book from Brewers Publications. Choose from more than 60 titles to match your brewing goals. Visit homebrewersassociation.org/basicbrewing to join the American Homebrewers Association and treat yourself to a new brewing book. Get offer details at homebrewersassociation.org/basicbrewing. That's homebrewersassociation.org/basicbrewing. Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, it's the final part of our Frost Fest trilogy, as Steve and I talk to brewers from near and far about brewing hoppy beers, brewing sour beers, and navigating the world of running a small-scale brewery. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing, and many thanks to everybody who's helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter. I'm getting more orders for our Brewers logbooks. Thanks to everybody picking those up. I'm not too far from running out of this batch. Time to print some more. You can log up to 50 batches of beer in our logbook. It's got a handy blank calendar in the front with 12 months of blank calendar pages where you can plan a year's worth of brews. For instance, if you want to keep track of your lagering schedules and stuff like that, you can do that there. You can find those at basicbrewingshop.com. Along with our DVDs. Financial supporters have already seen the video episode Steve and I shot on Matt Giovanisi's Honey Triple that we formulated on this show, this audio podcast. That was a dang tasty beer, and Matt of Brew Cabin sent us a video postcard that we used in the episode showing how he brewed that beer on his fancy gear. The general public will see that on Friday. Steve and I also shot video episodes on my Vienna Lager and my Italian Pilsner, which are rapidly disappearing from my kegs, mysteriously. Must be a leak somewhere. Both of those lagers are way good, way too drinkable. Earlier this week, Chris Colby and I got to taste those together, and we recorded another recipe development show, this time about Hellesbock, a big, light-colored, delicious lager, perfect for spring. I'm planning to brew that beer with L09 Que Bueno, which is the next seasonal yeast from our friends and sponsors at Imperial Organic Yeast. Que Bueno is a lager yeast with a clean, low-ester profile and should give my Hellesbock a crisp and dry finish. My beer may be near the stated alcohol tolerance of 8% for Que Bueno, so I'll probably use a starter. Usually, I say my stir plate is dusty because I don't use it anymore for moderate gravity 5-gallon batches, but in my Vienna Lager, an Italian Pilsner, for example, I didn't use a starter. Those started out around 1050 and fermented very well and tasted nice and clean and got started in a timely manner. The 200 billion cells in the packets of L25 Huga did just fine without any help with those beers. However, this Hellesbock is a bigger beer, and I want it to be really clean, so I'll probably dust off the stir plate for that batch. Looking forward to brewing that one. Ask your local homebrew store to order some L09 Que Bueno from Imperial Organic Yeast and brew up a lager or two for spring. And be sure to check them out at imperialyeast.com. That's imperialyeast.com. This is the third segment from Frost Fest in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Steve and I had a great time there and talked to a lot of brewers with interesting techniques and stories. This week, among the things that we talk about the challenges of running a small brewery, sometimes in inhospitable legal climates, get some advice on hoppy beers, and talk to an Austin brewery with an innovative approach to kettle sours. But first, I want to talk to Ben Mills and Andrew Bland of Fossil Cove Brewing, who hosted Frost Fest, to get a wrap-up of this year's event. Ben Mills and Andrew Bland, welcome to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for the access to Frost Fest. Steve and I got there early and hit the ground running, and we got 10 minutes shy of 2 hours worth of interviews.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. And we turned it into 3 different shows. Now, Ben, first of all, why this time of year? You usually think of beer festivals being, in warmer months. Why this time of year?
I think when Andrew and I originally started planning the event, we were just kind of looking at the calendar of Northwest Arkansas, and it's pretty heavy, in the warmer months with events, and at the time, especially beer festivals. Back in 2016 when we first had it.
Yeah.
So we were trying to avoid all of the other local and regional beer festivals and kind of supply a festival in what would be considered kind of a downtime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you lucked out on the weather.
Right. Oh, yeah. So far, we always have lucked out on the weather.
Yeah, I think there's kind of that sort of masochistic side of us too, where it's just we're gonna do it and it's gonna be cold, but everyone's gonna be there together and and have fun. It's we all have to brave the elements together.
Well, even in warmer months, festivals can be rained out, so the weather can be uncooperative no matter what time of year.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So Andrew, I understand the event was sold out. So give me some stats. How many breweries from how many states and how many people attended?
So we were 58 breweries, I believe, from 8 states. We had I think we had about 2,200, 2,100 total attendees. But at peak, you were there with all the breweries and the vendors and everyone else putting this thing together. We probably had 2,600 people at the festival grounds at the busiest time of it.
It was great. And it was at the fairgrounds, so there's plenty of room. And, you're outside for the most part. There was a tent that people could choose to go into if they wanted to with music and such as that. Just a ton of fun, even for us old guys.
Well, that's good to hear.
But Ben, one thing, I was surprised, we talked to breweries as far away as from, Fort Worth and Austin and, Kansas. And I said, why are you guys here? And the brewers said, well, because we were invited. And I found out that you guys helped to pay for their lodging and stuff. Is that unusual for a beer festival?
I wish it wasn't, but yes, it is kind of unusual. A long time ago, we decided as a company not to attend beer festivals that didn't pay for our product and our at least the product, right? Most beer festivals we get invited to don't offer any sort of compensation, even though there's a lot of money, being exchanged there. And
right.
It's important to us as brewers and friends of these brewers that we're inviting to make sure that they're feeling compensated and, taken care of and respected in that sense.
Yeah, we really just think about the breweries as just another customer of this beer festival. And we really feel like it starts with showing them a good time, and that's the foundation to putting on a good event. If the brewers are happy and you can get good ones to show up, then it just makes everybody's time better.
Yeah, and I think it was definitely appreciated. I talked to a couple of the smaller brewers or smaller breweries, and they said this is great. This is like a weekend for the spouse team of the brewery, to have a getaway.
Right, and and we try to make it a more of a weekend event than just the the 5 hours of the festival, right? So we have a bottle share that's brewers only at our brewery the night before. And then, everybody's got a hotel room Friday night, and then, they have access to everything we do on Saturday, including the after party. And then they have another hotel room on Saturday night as well. So it's partly about making people feel compensated, but also it's a little safer as well by keeping them in town and
Sure.
giving them somewhere safe to stay.
Sure. And that encourages people from farther reaches to come into town knowing that they don't have to drive home afterwards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's all fun, but there's also supporting good causes. And I saw yesterday on Facebook, I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to get with you for sure is to talk about this aspect. You wrote a big check to a bunch of people.
Yeah, we wrote 5 big checks, actually.
So talk about that.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, so we raised, Frostfest raised $50,000 for our nonprofit partner, which, I mean, just blows away any previous donation we've ever been able to make from this. We really just have picked organizations that we feel connected to. We think benefits our Northwest Arkansas community that we've been able to support just as Fossil Cove over the years. And, it goes back to just part of the experience, I think, in making it something that you want to continue to come back and do. Is we get to support these organizations that really do make a difference where we live.
And who are your nonprofit partners?
So we have the Arkansas Brewers Guild, Appleseeds, they're a local teaching farm, the Arkansas Climbers Coalition, the Ozark Highlands Trail Association, and the Ozark Off-Road Cyclist.
Wow.
So we kind of get some outdoor recreation, some conservation, some beer, and some agriculture. So we try and get a wide swath with our donation.
Well, that's incredible. Congratulations for your success. Congratulations for being so generous. And once again, thanks for letting 2 old guys wander around and talk to people.
Happy to do it, James. Honestly, we have a lot of fun with it, so it's good that everybody else has fun. Otherwise, it really wouldn't be this successful.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, looking forward to next year. Appreciate y'all taking the time out to talk.
Oh, yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We'll see you there.
All right, tell me who you are and where you're from.
Yes, sir. I'm Derek Campbell. I'm with the Washita Brewing, and we're out of Mena, Arkansas.
Mena, Arkansas. I'm originally from Hot Springs, Arkansas. So
okay, not far down the road then.
Kind of in the neighborhood.
Yeah, about an hour and a half from us.
Yeah. So tell me about your brewery.
Yes, so actually our brewery, we are a Dry County brewery. We were the first Dry County brewery in Arkansas, and we opened up in 2020, actually. But Polk County, that's where we're from, and it just went wet this last cycle. Oh. So now we're in the process of becoming a wet county brewery.
I was about to go wet a couple of minutes ago. I had to go. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. So what are the challenges in coming into a formerly dry county?
Yeah. So back in 2019, Arkansas passed a bill to where dry counties could house a brewery. So it has to be under a private club permit, and it's got to be a restaurant as well. And so, you got to establish the private club, and then you've got to make application to be a brewery. You've got to have your restaurant up and going. And then there's a lot of regulations that come with that to where you can't advertise. That means it can't be on your sign. That means people can't be able to look in a window and see a beer.
What?
Yeah. You can't self-distribute. There's a lot of difficulties that come with it. It's basically, you can brew beer, you can't tell anybody that you brew beer, though. Right. So it was difficult, but, we were up to the challenge, and we're glad we did it.
The last time I checked, about half the counties in Arkansas were either dry or slightly moist. And people from other states don't understand that.
Absolutely not. No, we get that all the time. People would come in, they're like, "This is dry county?" Or like, "Absolutely." Or they come in, like, "Where's the nearest liquor store?" And we're like, "Well, about an hour this direction, that direction, or the other one." About an hour and a half either way. So,
at a sidebar, I was going to say I ended up in Hope one night, not too far from you, and I was like, "Oh, there's a Chili's. I go to Chili's. I can get a beer and something to eat." Couldn't get a beer.
No.
Where am I?
Yeah.
Well, when I was growing up, I'm old. When I was growing up, the blue laws were so strict in Arkansas that I went with my mom to the grocery store on a Sunday, and I needed notebook paper for school the next day. I couldn't buy notebook paper because it was a non-essential, and you couldn't buy it on a Sunday because of the blue laws. So it's not as bad as it had been.
Goodness.
But so good for you. So talk about your beers and talk about your brewery and talk about what your kind of concept of brewing is.
Yeah, actually, so back in 2018, we opened up as a coffee roaster and coffee bar. That's our roots. And then when we found out we could be a brewery, we started down that path, and so we grew into a restaurant, brewery, and coffee bar. And so like I said, we're a specialty coffee roaster. We brew beer. We have probably about 18 different styles of beer that we're brewing currently.
Wow.
And so we're on a 7-barrel brew house currently, working on growing, working on getting distribution. Today we have our, it's called Warriors Porter. It's a very old style porter, like think World War I. That's like the original beer they're drinking. That's what the recipe's inspired by. And that's why it's called Warriors Porter. Warrior was Jack Seeley's horse. And that horse outlived about 1 million other horses through World War I. And so Warriors Porter, that's what we got here today, as well as our West Coast styled IPA called the Bad Ox. Our state rep is there in Mena, and John Maddox, that's his name. So that's we love that guy, so we named that beer after him. But Mad Ox, so we got that. Then we have a cotton candy lemonade for the non-beer drinkers that still enjoy this kind of aesthetic and atmosphere, and it's crazy good. It's really sweet. It's nice. And then we got an old-styled Irish red, and it's been very popular today.
Nice.
We've got the hoppy beer.
Yeah, we do. It's really good. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so the West Coast, it's one of our newest recipes that we've been working on. Originally, Maddox was an American-styled IPA, and it was a great beer, but we really wanted to kind of like push the envelope on it a little bit, and so we expanded out. We haven't seen many West Coast IPAs out there recently, and so we just kind of did some research, found some great different recipe ideas, and made it our own. And it's got like some nice fruit, a little bit of floral notes to it, but then it really finishes off nice and hoppy. It's a well-rounded beer. There we go.
Yeah, thank goodness you said that.
Yeah, and so we've been very happy with it, and it's been a crowd favorite today for sure.
Yeah, it's solid. We haven't had a lot of hoppy beers here today.
No, the theme seems to have been sessionable.
Lagers,
dark lagers,
Yeah. And so when we come to these things, we try to hit, every end of the spectrum. So we got the hoppy one, we've got a darker beer with the porter, we got something sweet if you don't like beer, and then we got that Irish red for, what's something a little different that nobody else has.
Yeah. So talk about your hopping strategy. It's a nice, solid West Coast American IPA. So you're talking to home brewers, so talk about your hopping strategy.
Yeah, so, about an equal portion is going to go in through during the boil, and then just about as much is going to go into the dry hopping phase. And so there's about 4-6 different hops variations. I have to actually talk with my head brewer on that. That goes into it, but it's heavy hopped, and it just comes out really well. I think the aroma to me is just as good as the flavor on that beer, and so we've been super proud of it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's kind of chilly out here, so my nose isn't working as well as it probably could.
What are the challenges that you run across? So I need to set this up a little bit. Mena is on Old 71 Highway.
Yeah.
And so it's not easily accessible by large trucks or airplanes.
Log trucks have no problem.
Logistics, all the nuts and bolts of running a brewery, literally in the mountains in Arkansas.
Right.
Yeah,
What's
supply
that
chain
like?
issues.
Supply chain issues. What are the challenges that you run across?
Yeah, so a lot of people may think it not wise to open a brewery in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. We're an hour and a half to 2 hours from anywhere, more or less. And so operating a brewery, a lot of that is about being able to get your beer even out the door into other areas, so distribution. So that's tough for us. It's hard to get distributors to drive that hour and a half into Mena when they're not already there, to then carry your beer out elsewhere to help develop the brand, get people following it, get people drinking it. So that's been something hard that we've been running into. As Dry County, like we're used to hard issues, and so we're working, we're fighting, we're trying to figure out the best ways for us as a brewery. And so distribution's a big thing for us. And so we're going under re-permitting and kind of becoming a different license. Being a wet county is going to help. We've submitted legislation to kind of help out a small rural town be able to distribute under certain permits. And so thankfully Arkansas has like some good regulation and laws in place, but that always can be improved upon. So we've kind of looked at our situation and what we hope to do moving forward, because Arkansas has 2 different permits you can get. You can be a small brewery or you can be a microbrewery. A small brewery can self-distribute, but the Washita's has goals of having multiple retail locations, and you're limited to 2 tap rooms, 3 max with a small brewery permit. And we have a lot of people that want to help us expand into the Northwest Arkansas, Fort Smith, Little Rock areas. And so the microbrewery more fits us, but distribution is tough with that one. So we're kind of working on those laws, and we're just kind of trying to build a community to get our beer out there. And we've got some great people that are working with us currently as distributors. I say great people, 1 distributor currently, in conversation with 1 other. And that's one of the main things we run into is like, all right, we got great beer right here in the foothills of the Washita's. Now how do we get it out into central Arkansas, northwest Arkansas, south Arkansas? That's the biggest thing we hear. Right.
Yeah. That's a lot of home brewers out there who want to be professional brewers. And, the harsh reality is that in addition to making delicious beer that people want to drink,
right,
you've got to have the business acumen, you've got to have the legal strategy to get your beer out there and actually sell it so you can continue to make the good beer.
Yep.
So
yeah, and so Arkansas is a great place for your small home brewers to be. It really is. And so as people are venturing and looking into what it takes to kind of expand into a full commercial brewery, there's a lot of options. And a lot of the breweries around Arkansas are happy to talk through those processes. There's all kinds of different levels and styles that you can kind of move into a brewery. And then you've got options when you go to permit as well. And so I just encourage those guys to reach out to Arkansas breweries. We would love to help here, the Washita's in Mena, Arkansas, because we've experienced dry county regulations. We've experienced transitioning into a wet county, and we've done a lot of work to try to figure out the different laws and permitting things. And so we'd love to try to just offer kind of insight that we can to anybody. We'd love to see more breweries pop up, especially in your small rural communities, because we're in Mena, 5,000 people, right? And so we're kind of the odd man out on this. We've experienced those tough small town, but small towns deserve them too. Our community loves us. They've been happy to have us a part of it. And so we love that support, and we'd love to see, these little guys also be able to start to branch up as well.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks for talking to us, and best of luck to the Washita's in Mena, Arkansas.
That's right. Thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, tell me who you are and where you're from.
I'm Will Perry. I'm from the head brewer for False Idol Brewing in North Richland Hills, Texas.
False Idol Brewing, and where?
North Richland Hills, Texas. It's right outside of Fort Worth.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Wow, what brought you all the way up from Fort Worth or that area?
Well, honestly, we just got the invite, and it sounded like it's a really great time. So we were like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. So here we are.
Well, you're invited to my house next weekend if you bring all this beer. What do you guys brew?
We brew all sorts of stuff. A lot of hazy IPA, lagers, and imperial stouts. I would say is maybe our focus, but we do a little bit of everything. We got 24 taps at the brewery, and we try to keep them full most of the time. We got right now we actually got 4 different saisons available in bottles. Yeah, we do Berliner Weisses, lagers. We got a pretty good lager program. We keep things coming out pretty regularly. And just trying to always keep it fresh and keep it fun.
What's the beer environment around Fort Worth like?
It's good. I mean, it's a greater metropolitan area, so we're not in like a really urban area. We're kind of in the suburbs, so nothing's really too packed in together. Breweries are kind of spread out, so it's not like being in like a downtown Denver kind of situation where there's a whole bunch of breweries right there. It's pretty spread out, but we got I think 75 breweries in the Metroplex. So we got a good number of breweries, but it's good. There's we're kind of in what's called the mid cities areas, which kind of ties the 2 big cities together. Dallas and Fort Worth, yeah. I mean we're friends with everyone. Everybody's cool. There's a good community. We like to have people over to the brewery every now and then, have a barbecue, play some cornhole, and hang out. Because we're all friends, and we all just kind of need to decompress together sometimes, because it's a little bit stressful sometimes, like any job is. But sure. It's good.
Well, I mean, as you could probably feel from the vibe around here, Northwest Arkansas breweries, I think, tend to be kind of a group and kind of rely on each other every now and then. What are we drinking here?
This is called I'm a Fix Wolves. It's a hazy pale ale. It's a little 5.5%. Dry hop with Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe. Kind of like the holy trinity of hazy IPAs. Kind of a no-brainer hop combo, but it's fun. It's easy. It's 5.5%. Real flavorful and easy to drink.
Yeah. So is it different from a hazy IPA, or is it a hazy IPA? You call it a hazy pale ale.
Yeah. So it gets a little bit into semantics there, but I kind of classify these sort of things in kind of like an ABV category. So because it's 5.5%, I would call it a pale ale. So we branded it as a hazy pale ale or a New England style pale ale. I'd say if it's above 6, I'd probably call it an IPA. But you could call it a session IPA if you wanted to. There's all these games you can play with the naming.
Yeah, it's whatever's on the menu board that that gets the customers to buy it. Right. It's really nice. It's really nice and clean and tasty, and the hops taste. This is the second hoppy beer we've had in a row, and I kind of missed the hops the first part of it. We've had a lot of delicious beers today, but not a lot of hoppy ones. Okay. So this is good.
Yeah, it is really good, and it's interesting. I always think of, when I classify IPA versus PA, I always think of it as a hop thing. It's like, if it's more hoppy, I think of it as an IPA, and less hoppy as a pale ale. Not necessarily true, but that's just how my mind works. That's really interesting. This is so much the hop. It is. It's like the what do you call it? I'm having a senior moment. onion, celery, and carrot in French cooking. It's like
the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, the Holy Trinity. So this has that in it, and it tastes like that. It's really good.
So talk about your hopping strategy.
In general,
or just in this beer to get the nice hop character. And again, you're talking to home brewers, so don't be afraid to geek out.
Okay, yeah. Well, I like to dry hop my beers in kind of 2 stages. So towards the end of fermentation, when I'm done collecting my yeast, and I'm going to do that with this batch, I'll drop in the first dry hop, and it'll usually be about roughly 1/3 of the total dry hop towards the end of fermentation, with maybe a Play-Doh or 2 left. And that dry hop kind of helps carry it along, maybe a little bit of hop creep, but it kind of finishes out. And then I'll drop in the second one, and it'll be about twice as strong as the first dry hop. And it's about 5 days total. So I do 2 days for the first dry hop, and then drop in the second one for the next 2 to 3 days. And I kind of I've played around with equal amounts of dry hopping. I've played around with more the first dry hop, and I kind of like the higher dry, or the bigger dry hop for the second one, because I think it helps pack a punch better on the nose of the beer. And then for the way that, because to be straight up, the beer is equal parts Simcoe, Citra, and Mosaic. And so because I know that Mosaic is a more pungent hop, I left that in for the first dry hop by itself. And then I put the Citra and Simcoe in together on the second one. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm always playing around with different stuff. We're a real small brewery. I'm on a 10-barrel system. And we only have 2 year-round beers, so we're always pivoting, making new stuff. And it gives me a lot of flexibility to experiment with a lot of different things. So I'm always playing around with different strategies, knockout pHs, all sorts of different stuff.
Well, you can tell that you do work with it a lot, and because you don't just come up with those things out of your nether regions. You do that from experimentation and taking notes and tasting and just kind of keeping track of things and measuring your results. So delicious beer, and I'm glad that y'all made the trek.
Yeah, thank you. We're really happy to be here. It's cool to be a part of I guess kind of a new market. We're not distributing beer here, but I guess beers get around, and some people actually know who we are here, which is really cool to see.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, good luck to you, and good luck to False Idol.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, tell me who you are and where you're from.
Yeah, so my name's Kevin Fry. I'm from Fayetteville, Arkansas, and my company's called Puritan Coffee and Beer. So we're a coffee and beer bar, but we also have a little 1-barrel system. So
Yeah. I've been curious about this. I've been to the Puritan. I've drank craft beers from other places.
That's right.
But you guys are brewing your own now.
Correct, and we've been doing it for just over a year.
So what are we drinking here?
Yeah, so you're drinking Pale 8 right now. It is a English mild, 3.5%. Everything that we've been doing, our pub series right now, is just modeled after what you would find in a pub in the UK. And the goal is sessionable, really approachable beers.
It's very nice.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. And this English mild is a style that I particularly like because it's so sessionable. And it's just one you can just enjoy, kick back 3 or 4 with good friends, and have a nice evening.
So one would think that a one-barrel system would not be financially sustainable, but I assume that you guys are still serving coffee and serving other people's beers.
Absolutely. So we have 21 beers on draft. We also have a cannon bottle list, and then we have a cellar list as well. So we have a lot of beer. But for our stuff, we only take up 4 of our lines in Puritan. The rest of it is craft beer that we bring in from other people.
So what is it? Is the strategy to kind of fill in the empty slots? You know, what's your strategy? And if you're only brewing a barrel at a time, what's your strategy? And what to put on tap? I mean, if some local brewery or some other brewery that you sell has a very strong offering, it seems like you might not want to go against that.
Right. Yeah. And our thing was, let's have some house beers that are approachable. We're not going to ever do anything really wild. We're not going to do any sours. We're not going to do any, big double IPAs or hazies. We're not going to chase any styles. We're just going to kind of stick to what we would like to do, and the little kind of the gap in the market that we see right now, which is some pub ales that are meant to be, come and get a picture of it and have a couple pictures with your friends and enjoy that. And then if you want some wilder stuff or something that's a little, crazier, come and get a barrel-aged stout from whoever. We're going to have that stuff too. But the goal really is for us just to have the beers that are really easy drinking on the wall.
Yeah, this fits that bill. I mean, it's super clean and drinkable, but at the same time, it's interesting and sessionable. I mean, I would drink a whole pint of this, and and even and take no offense, but even as a palate cleanser between 2 more strongly flavored beers.
Absolutely, and that's not offensive at all. We really do. We want to make beer that is good, but also that is not off the wall, weird, and different. The goal is not that at all. It is to bring something to people that is really drinkable and pretty straightforward.
It's fun. We've been covering craft beer in Northwest Arkansas since 2005.
Love it. And
it's fun to see the different business models that come up and fit the niche, And this is one that I guess no one has done before.
Right. It seems that way for us too, and that's why that's kind of why we wanted to fill that gap there. We also, and I always joke with our brewer, I say, we're the oldest brewery on Dixon Street. So nobody else can say that at this point because Hog House is gone. Ozark Brewing is gone, long ago. So we wanted to be the spot on Dixon that, had a little one-barrel system, be the little brew pub on Dixon and bring in a new crowd that maybe we wouldn't have got otherwise.
I love it.
Do you find that you cater mostly to U of A students or to townies or gownies?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And honestly, it's very seasonal in that. When school's in session, we are very much a college hangout. And then when school is not in session, we see a lot of our townies, which we love, because I live in South Fayetteville. All my friends, a lot of them don't come and hang out until the students leave. And when the students leave, then I see all my friends again. So it's kind of seasonal in that.
I'm old enough to remember when the school was not in session, the town dried up.
Right.
And literally dried up.
And it was the restaurants were very, very calm and yes. Vacant.
Yes.
It's not that way anymore.
No, it's not. And we even saw, over this I guess we're still in the winter right now, but, when school was out, we saw a busyness that we haven't seen in a long time, and maybe ever for us, to where we're going, okay, like, the rise in population and all that stuff, we're starting to see that impact our business in a positive way. So definitely times are changing.
Well, excellent. This is a delicious beer.
Thank you.
And how exciting a concept. How fun would that be to brew in that environment?
Yeah, I love it. It's a cool place to hang out. I go there. I haven't been in a little bit, but I really like it.
I appreciate that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Congratulations and good luck to Puritan.
Thank you so much. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it, guys. Yep.
I'm already looking forward to brewing the Hellesbach that Chris Colby of beerandgardeningjournal.com and I formulated earlier this week. It's going to be a bigger beer than I'm used to brewing. I'll probably break out my recirculating pump that I sometimes use with my Warthog brew-in-a-bag system from our friends and sponsors Desiree and Dave from highgravitybrew.com. Usually with a moderate gravity 5-gallon batch, I simply just stir the wort a few times during the mash, and I'm really happy with my efficiency. However, with this larger grain bill, I'm probably going to hook up my pump. It draws wort from the bottom of the kettle underneath the grain bag, and it sprays it over the top of the mash, so it's a constant recirculation. And I find that's helpful for higher gravity beers where there's a lot more grain in the bag. You pair that with my Warthog EBC 130 controller, and I'm able to produce delicious beers reliably. HighGravityBrew.com has the Warthog electric brewing solutions for you, whether you're a single-vessel brewer like me and Steve, or prefer 2 or 3 vessel setups up to 2 barrels, and you can upgrade your gear with options like Spike or Blickman vessels. Use the code EBC75BB, that's EBC75BB, and save $75 off your Warthog electric purchase at our friends, family-owned and operated, highgravitybrew.com. That's highgravitybrew.com. All right, so tell me who you are and where you're from.
My name is Sean. I work at Blue Isle Brewing in the east side of Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. What brought you up from Austin, Texas?
Well, they invited us, you see.
Did you have any trouble with the ice?
Only just before we left, actually. Brian here, one of our brewers, he lost power for a couple of nights. But that's okay. We didn't lose it at the brewery, and that's what's important.
Yeah. So what do you guys specialize in?
Well, we started as a sour-only brewery about 7 years ago. Basically, our concept was to try to take beers that everybody knew and loved, something like red IPAs or pale ales, stouts, all that kind of stuff, and see, okay, well, how do we make this a sour beer that works, people would enjoy, bring that kind of culture, if you will, to those kinds of styles that you don't normally see sours made out of. There's been sour pilsners in the past, lots of fruited beers, gozas, just trying to figure out that edge of how something can work nicely with the sour profile. It's all kettle sours for most of our beers. We do have a small barrel program as well, but it's sour mash because we start a culture from the grain that we get. There is a malting company, a couple malting companies in Texas that we've worked with in the past. And what we'll do is we'll actually harvest Lactobacillus and Acetobacter culture from grains that are grown and malted in Texas, and then we'll use those cultures and carry them forward in sort of a Solera system. So every day's sour that has happened the night before, we harvest a little bit off of that to pitch into the next one. So we have a lot of control over what we're selecting for and what our house culture imparts as far as flavor into our beers.
So it's really kettle souring plus. I mean, you guys, usually when you do a kettle sour, a lot of the sour guys think it's kind of cheating, because you're just tossing lacto into the kettle and getting into as sour as you want, and then you're boiling. But this is more of a natural process. You're actually using naturally harvested lactobacillus from grain grown locally. So you get extra credit.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're pretty proud of that. We've done a couple of smash beers using some grains that are grown in Texas, and yeah, we're happy with how things work out. We're constantly tweaking it. Jeff will tell you, our one of our founders and owners, will tell you that when everything first started, there wasn't a whole bunch of literature about exactly what you were looking for as far as dominant cultures at certain temperatures as they take over. Anybody who's home brewed with yogurt or any brewery that mostly does that kind of thing knows, boy, a couple of degrees of temperature variation overnight, a couple of hours difference on either end of the process can result in wildly different results. A lot of breweries, they make, a handful of kettle sours a year. They see what happens. If it gets sour, cool. It's a sour beer now. And that's not to take anything away.
Let's put some fruit into it and come up with a fun name.
Hey, I've had a lot of sours from other breweries that I've either worked at or worked with, and I've liked a bunch of them, but I've never seen the level of control and QCing that we do at Blue Owl. Make sure that we're really getting exactly what we're looking for. And you guys are drinking a pretty interesting amalgam of a couple of different styles. This is a sour milkshake IPA with pineapple, coconut, Sabro and Citra hops. Now, Sabro, we discovered, has its own kind of coconutty profile, a little tropical without being too citrus, that we think works really nicely with a sort of like tiki drink profile of the Tiki Hop Totem. It's one of those beers that when I first got hired a couple years ago, it was on the end of the list of samples that my boss gave me. He said, "I saved this one for the last one that you're going to try. Give me your honest opinion." And I was like, "Oh boy, I didn't know that you could do that with beer." That's fun.
It's really good. It's really complex. There's a really nice tartness. When you said milkshake, I was like, "Oh no, I'm not going to like this," but I do. It's like super drinkable. There's a ton of stuff going on, but it's a nice, clean tartness that cleanses the palate after you drink it.
Yeah, it really does. It reminds me, this is going to sound weird, just work with me. Remember the creamsicle, the orange creamsicles? Oh. When you were a kid, the ice cream bars? It reminds me of that, soured.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because we brewed a beer style last year called Tangerina, and it was exactly that concept. We used oranges. It was a high sour beer. There's a little bit of vanilla thrown in there for that creamsicle filling. And yeah, we got that. We got a lot of the same comments from people. It's really sweet up front, and then it finishes. It really leaves you wanting to drink more of it. And that's all. That all comes from us honing in on the certain aspects of sourness that we tweaking with temperatures, tweaking with amounts of time, and having a culture that rolls over like that. You're able to make little small changes that over time get us closer to what we're looking for.
Now, you said sour mash. Do you actually have the mash go sour and then collect the wort off of that? Because we've done the first. Ben Mills from Fossil Cove, who's hosting this project, he and I worked together and kind of collaborated on the first sour mash beer in Arkansas. And they actually did, instead of a kettle sour where you collect the wort and sour it afterwards, he let the mash sit in the mash tun to sour. Is it that kind of a process?
So what we do is we will do a sour mash on a single bag of grain.
Oh, okay.
And then what we'll do with that is we'll recirc through that. Jeff had actually built custom this, I don't know, it kind of looks like a hop gun. You load the grain.
Hop rocket kind of a thing, or hop, what do they call it? New Belgium.
Oh, yes, or a torpedo.
Torpedo.
Yeah. We had one of those made, put the grain inside of there, you let it sit for a little while, and then you start recircing with wort in the kettle. So what you're doing is you're inoculating off of the grain, and it takes a while to grow that culture up. But again, we sort of Solera that so we don't have to sour mash every single sour that we make, or every single turn on the system. But spiritually, it's linked back to that one bag of grain that was sour mashed. We have a lot more control over the process this way. Mashing a sour every time would be a multi-day affair.
So you're using a scoop of the yogurt, so to speak, to make you're using a spoonful of the yogurt to make the new yogurt. You're not starting from scratch every time. You're using a good inoculant from a previous batch.
Right, exactly. And then again, we get to select for certain things that we want as far as temperature and storage. So I would be very interested to see somebody who tried to grow up their own house culture for souring, for home brewing, because it would be very possible to do that as well. You do one mash, you let that sour overnight, you do a sour mash, you harvest off of that, and you can pitch it multiple times and see, you know, and harvest it the next day before you do your boil and add your hops. And you might be able to come up with, as a home brewer, a pretty consistent flavor profile that people could trace back to you. And I'd be interested to see if somebody would try that, because it's definitely possible to do it on a smaller scale too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, this beer is really nice.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how well. It just sounds like kind of a mongrel, but really. But then when I drank it, I was like, wow, I've never had anything quite like this before. So it's really good. Really, the idea of fusion, even within beer styles. You know, we think of it a lot like Asian and Mexican fusion. Yeah. That's great, but beer can do that too, and these beers do, and apparently that's what you guys do.
Yeah, we do something pretty unique there in town, and we've collaborated with other people who wanted to get their sour programs or the sour beers that they do more serious and really hone in on what they want to get out of it. They come to us for knowledge, which is really flattering. It's great. It's great to collaborate with folks in town, and yeah, I mean, I want to see more sours out there. I want to see more people really drilling down on the flavor profiles that they want, and being able to reproduce them, and yeah, it'd be great.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for the beer, and good luck to Blue Owl Brewing.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good rest of your fest, huh?
Sean Slape of Crisis Brewing Company. We're going to end our tasting day with you.
Well, I appreciate the thought.
Yeah, this has been we've been here a while, but we've been responsible.
Yeah, I've been trying to be very responsible today, just taking it very slow and very easy, and knowing that I have to come back here and give everybody a break. So
yeah, right.
I'm not drinking too much.
So what do we got here?
I am drinking the IPA from Ozark right now.
Ozark.
Hey, Frank.
Hi, those guys. We don't want to hear about Ozark.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Teddy just gave me this can. I was like, I need a real beer, dude, and he gave it to me. So
we love the folks at Ozark.
Yeah, I do too, very much so. Well, you are drinking our Belgian Dark Strong, Cattywampus, and that's the name is after how you will wind up when you're done drinking a pint of that stuff.
Yeah. What's the ABV on it?
It's 10.3. It's a hefty one, but it's an easy drinker. Really, it doesn't feel like that. The alcohol is nice and mellow there. It's hidden underneath all the fruity flavors, a little bit of those spicy clove phenols, and it's a nice warming beer for a day like today.
Yeah, it's a good beer to have a small sample.
Very small. Yeah,
at the end of the day.
Like I don't even drink very much of those. I have one glass of that, and then I'll move on to something simple like a pale ale after that.
What do you think about that beer?
It's delicious. I mean, exactly what Sean said. A little bit of spice. It's nice and malty. It's warm. I mean, it's warming, but it's not hot. It doesn't hit you as an alcoholic beer, but because when I sipped this, I would have said this was about 7%. So, but it's sneaky.
It is strong. It's hefty for sure.
There's a ton of yeast character in there. Yeah. So talk about the yeast and talk about how you treat the yeast and how you get all those spicy phenols in there. And it's easy to brew a beer and have it ferment cleanly and not have those good yeasty characters. But what do you do to get all that fun yeasty stuff?
Well, so first of all, I use a Belgian-specific yeast strain. I use it from Imperial Yeast. I use their triple double, and I do a not open fermentation, but I do a low pressure fermentation. And what I do is I start the yeast at a cold temperature and let it rise under no pressure. And what I have found over the times that I've brewed that beer, when I do that, it really pushes those fruity esters out, and it balances out the phenolics in there with those esters, and it produces a really nice, easy drinking beer for such a high ABV beer. And I really like the way the fruitiness comes out and balances with the clove. And that was the first time I did that with this beer, left it open like that. So there was almost no back pressure during fermentation, and I really noticed the difference in the esters
production on the beer.
So what about temperature?
So it started at 54 degrees, and I let it free rise, and it got up to about 80 degrees. And at about 80 degrees, that's when it hit final gravity also. So we crashed it, and then I lagered it for about 6 weeks.
Oh,
holy crap!
Wow.
Yeah. What about the grain bill? I get some really nice maltiness out of this.
So it's just it's just a Belgian Pilsner malt with the dark Belgian sugar and some Saaz hops, and that's it.
Wow. No, it's really a showcase for the yeast.
Yeah, it's the yeast for sure that makes the beer. Yeah. And, it had all the sugar that it needed, too. I put a lot of sugar in there.
Wow. Yeah, that's way good.
Yeah.
If I were at home, I would like a pint of this.
I definitely would, yeah. Yeah.
Well, we have 2 barrels of it. It's a specialty one, so we brew it once a year. So you can drop by the pub and, grab one to go, and you can take it home with you.
So how are things at Crisis?
Things are good at Crisis. It's been everything is so nice. I mean, it's we get to brew the beer that we want to brew. We brew in small batches. It's a neighborhood pub where people show up and drink beer, and I get to change things often, and I get to talk to the people that are drinking my beer all the time. So I have to say it's pretty good these days. I have to say that
Life is good.
I can't complain at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. You're living the good life.
It is, yeah. I mean, I'm around friends and family doing something I really enjoy in a town that I love to live in, and people support us enthusiastically. Can't ask for much more than that.
Well, best wishes for continued success and continued good beers at Crisis Brewing Company in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Woo! Excellent way to end our time at FrostFest. I feel guilty for not dropping in to talk to more of our local favorites, but we couldn't pass up the opportunity to visit with brewers from out of the area when they were so handy. And I'm glad we did. We learned a lot of stuff and met some, hopefully, new friends. Looking forward to next year at FrostFest in Fayetteville, Arkansas. In the meantime, if you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to James at basicbrewing.com or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. So until next time, until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dodson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.